Okay, and welcome everyone again to this global healing circle. Today we have here again the same crew. Amos, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Amos Campbell. I run Health and Healing Solutions, a full spectrum healing practice in Peoria, Arizona, where I do everything from musculoskeletal therapy to transcendental meditation.
Nice. And how about Fotini?
Hello, my name is Fotini. I'm Greek. I live in Greece. I have a place called the Healing Partners that I give healing sessions, shamanic practicing, and also from the Paco tradition.
Nice. And Christina?
I am Christina Cece, and I am right now in upstate New York. And I am a holistic well-being coach. I teach women how to live the life of their dreams through body, mind, and soul. And I also am a cacao ceremony facilitator.
And my name is Noora. I am an energy healer and a spiritual life coach from Helsinki, Finland. And here we are, the whole family together again, and we have an amazing theme for today, and it is the dark night of the soul. So we are entering the Christmas time. I hope no one is going through it right now. I hope you have a enjoyable holiday season. But if you happen to be in one, good news, it's not gonna last forever. So let's dive into it. Who wants to start?
Well, I'll start just because I've had a very broad spectrum personally of this experience. Um, as someone who was a former addict, I've been clean for now 10 years. I experienced this as rock bottom as an addict. After using for so long, there is really a moment that it's very dark. We it's very dark at the bottom of the well. So you have to make a choice. It's either you're going to keep going and most likely die, or you have to come back and face the darkness and climb your way out. So that was my dark night of the soul, in which case it's your choice. Do you choose to keep going or do you choose to live? And I chose to live. But I've
Yeah.
also had what is called a traditional spirit quest or vision quest. My story where I flipped my Jeep twice down the side of a mountain on the 4th of July and had to go for 12 hours with no shoes, no shirt, no cell phone service through the wilderness and find my way back home. So 12 hours later, you have a very deep experience when it's just you going through the darkest part of the night by yourself with nothing, absolutely nothing. So you find out what you're made of and you get through the darkness. I think that's really the subject of this, is how you're going to get through your darkness. And in my case, it's a choice. That was my that was my experience. I chose health.
So, just a question, what were some of the experiences that you're having when you're out in the wilderness? Can you just kind of walk through those? Um,
The the interesting part is that all of these introspective moments, all these introspective thoughts come later, because in the moment you are in pure survival mode. I had two injured passengers, so my focus was to get to where I could get help as fast as possible. It just so happened that I was 24 miles in the Appalachian wilderness where there is no cell phone tower, so you have to walk and walk and walk and walk. And even then I'd walk for 12 hours, and it was the guys who were working up at the strip mine who found me. I would have been walking for another day had someone not come through. And I feel like that's our place as the healers, is that we're always going up and down the mountain, just going up and down the mountain, and we find people who need help and we try to expedite the process because they're going through it no matter what, and you have to go through it no matter what. It's just sometimes we're lucky enough to have help, sometimes you're not. And that's why I try to teach these principles, like what I call psychic survival skills, because you never know when there's going to be an accident. And that was the one good gift my father gave me, is he gave me survival skills from 16 to 18, and it saved my life.
Mm, nice. And how about this other experience of the dark nights that you had with the addiction? Like, what was the ultimate turning point for you?
So
What made it
this
happen
is
so you
my
were ready?
unsavory story. Um, I turned a point. There's always turning a point. There's always levels, but I hit the point. There is the point where you break the mirror, and that's the vision of yourself, the image of yourself, when you turn into something that you do not recognize, or when the mirror breaks. And
Mm,
in that moment, I have a lot of anatomical knowledge, a lot of physiological knowledge. Point was, I had been using for 5 days. I had not slept or eaten for almost 5 days. I'd been just burning on straight amphetamines for 5 days. And I ran out of cigarettes. I ran out of nicotine. So, like, these 2 points happened at the moment of a personal argument with my now husband, because we weren't married at the time. Um, and he stood in my way, and I said, you have to get out of my way. I need cigarettes. Like, I need to do it. And he's like, no, we have to work this out. I don't want you to leave on this fight. And I was like, I can't even think. I need this. I will handle this when I come back. And he wouldn't let me go. So in one fell strike, I broke his foot. It's an avulsion fracture. He went down like a building. I stepped straight over him and walked out the door. Went and got my cigarettes, came back, and I lit a cigarette, and I was like, now, are you ready to talk about this? And that was something that I never, ever have done before or since. And never, and it's like the biggest regret of my entire life, that the mirror broke and something
mm,
happened, and then I decided I can't become this person, and we've been clean ever since.
Mm.
mm. So you ended up doing something that was something that you had never imagined that you could do before.
That I
Yeah.
didn't even think was possible, that went against all my personal base instincts. Like, I am not a violent person, I'm not an angry person anymore. I've actually worked through all that, but you push any body, any physical body, that long, that hard,
Yeah.
it's going to snap. It is physics. There is
Yeah.
no tension rope that is unbreakable. You'll snap it.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
Wow.
So that was
Interesting.
my dark night. That was my rock bottom, and that was when I made that choice.
Yeah. And I'm happy you made it out of there. Congratulations. Good job.
Mhm.
Thank you. But that's why I speak to these things, and I feel like I know a little bit more, is just because I lived it. So I was there, so I can speak to experience and why it's okay. I tell everybody it's just okay. Well, healing is a process, a very long, a very arduous process. So again, I bring up kintsugi. Gonna
Mm,
piece it back together gently.
yeah. How about Fotini? What ideas do you have about the
Uh,
dark soul?
So I think for me, the dark night of the soul was going on after my dad passed away. So I was going through a big phase. This is what Amos said, like the same. It's not something that happens overnight. It doesn't start overnight and it doesn't stop overnight. So it's kind of starts at some point. Okay, it was a death, and then the rest of the things that I need to taking care of and taking care of myself. I remember crying in the night, from all this, like the pain and everything. Our relationship was very, very strong. We were very strong characters both. There was a lot of tension into this. And it really cost me. And I realized that much, much later, that how much I have been relying on him. And I do remember one night specifically that I was crying, crying, crying. And then in like the next morning, it was like this, like after a rainy night when everything is very, very clear in the morning,
Mm,
it had this feeling, this refreshing, renewing, and the wind and the air and the rain and I don't know, all these things together somehow. And I think that it actually finished at some point after 3-4 years. After that, when I realized that, okay, he's not coming back. There is no reason to go on. There is nothing, to keep hoping about. So it's like, okay, this is it. Now, this is like, there is no turning back. We only go straight ahead. And since then, I think that was the toughest, and I think the deepest also, the deepest night of the soul. Darkness, deep dark.
And what did you bring back with you from that period of time?
I think my own power and my own strength and standing on my own feet instead of relying on somebody else. This is when I was time to, I don't know if the expression is correct, to take the life into my hands. Do we say that? Yes. Yeah, I think that was the point that, okay, now it's time to start living my life. What do I want to do? Clear, whatever it is. Okay, I don't want to do this. I want to do this, and then start doing this thing. And this is how it got me here, actually.
Yeah.
So it kind of led you to the path of healing also.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, it's starting from psychotherapy, energy, initiations, like whatever I could do, I did it. Whatever help at that time. And it's going through phases, like, okay, now I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this. And it's like bits and pieces that they end up making the whole puzzle.
Yeah.
I think that was my experience too when I went through, because it didn't seem like there was one particular moment that I actually went through. It seemed like it was a series of moments, and almost kind of, I've heard and read about going through stages, and a situation would happen, it would bring me through this, maybe the first couple of stages of going into the darkness, right? And then while you're in the darkness, trying to figure that out, moving out of the darkness, and then maybe another situation happened where it kind of pulled me back in again. A couple of years later, it seemed like a very long process, and mine revolved a lot around relationships. So my divorce, it was several years ago, but when that first happened, whoa, it was like the carpet like pulled out from under me and just put me in this place where I had to start looking at myself again. And I didn't want to do that at, 29 years old. So, but that was part of the path. But then working myself through that, through the different stages, feeling the darkness, feeling the aloneness, and that not really understanding. I didn't have the knowledge to really understand, to go through the full process. So kind of not being stuck in that darkness, but moving a little bit out to the light, kind of living my life again. And then it hits again with another, relationship that went dissolved. And again, so it went into the darkness and then back into the light, and it happened again. So throughout my 30s and 40s, it definitely was this kind of wave, but it seemed like every time there was a little bit of an elevation. So almost like a plateau. So the darkness was here, but by the end, the darkness might be a little bit higher in vibration, not as deep and dark. So that was kind of my experience with it.
Yeah. And was it always like the same issue in the relationships that you were encountering, or was it like different lessons?
No, they were well, yeah, somewhat the same. Yes. And a lot of it was my own commitment issues. So that I didn't even realize that I had until a few years ago.
And what in
So,
specific, what kind of commitment issues?
well, usually at about 3 to 4 years in a relationship, that's when I start to exit. I start to not feel the feelings anymore. And I end up leaving the relationship. However, the tables kind of turned in relationships in my 30s and 40s where I wouldn't even get to that point that the relationship would just end. They would just end 3 to 4 months. Boom, boom. So yeah, yeah. But you know, I was creating that due to my beliefs in or fears of commitment.
Yeah. Very interesting. Definitely. And so something that needed to be repeated a few times so that you got the lesson.
Absolutely. And I think that's part of this dark night of the soul. It can take years and years and years if we don't actually use the tools that are given to us. And this kind of goes back to you know, this kind of science of it is that this we live in the 3D reality in this earthly realm, this earth, planet Earth, where the law of polarity exists. And everything has negative and positive magnetism, and it's always trying to find balance. Right? So when we're experiencing these negative things in our lives, when we're not living authentically, and as we're kind of living our lives and in experiences, we're gaining wisdom through all of these experiences. If we're not aware of the wisdom that we're obtaining through these experiences, it will start to create this vortex, so to speak, of energy where it will start to combust and crumble. And this is where the laws of polarity start to try to come into balance and bring us back. You've moved so far away from your authenticity that it's always trying to bring you back to center. So we move so far, everything has to collapse into the nothing, right? Into the darkness. And then we try to find pulling us back using the tools that we have obtained through our experiences to help pull us back. And allowing for new experiences to come in. So in Fotini's case, seeking out the healing, but you were ready to seek out the healing.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
That's kind of my take on it, and just hearing people like Greg Braden talk about it, and more of kind of that scientific view.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with all of you. And I have been trying to think like what would have been my dark night of the soul. And there have been like a couple. And I think one has been, I have had a very interesting life in a way that I come from a completely non-religious and non-spiritual background. And I lived in the world of separation for almost all my life until 2015, when I kind of had the awakening experience. And after that, I entered the understanding that we are all one. So I would say, like in like a grander scale, on my soul's perspective, all my earlier life was a dark night of the soul, and I had a lot of suffering. I was in a lot in the world of ego, the world of competition, the world of lack, the world of not being enough, in that kind of like 3D trap that people can be. And after understanding even somewhat. Of course, as people here on the planet, we cannot understand the whole picture, but I feel that I understand a lot more than I used to do, and the most important thing has been the oneness, the kind of the feeling of being supported by the universe or by the spirits always. So that has kind of like brought me in a lot more peaceful and harmonious life, and I would say that my life has changed like tremendously after that. But then if I go through these kind of periods where I had to learn, we had this comes from a past life actually with my boyfriend. We have lived several lives together. So and I have even visited some of them and seen that, for example, in one I was a man and he was a woman in that life. So we were kind of like the other way around. And from that life, there was this how do you say, this tendency of me being the caretaker. It came from that life, and since we met, we have had this role very much that I have been the one who is like taking care of him in every level. And last winter was kind of the turning point that we could break that pattern and we could finally get out of it, and we could kind of become equal, so that I let him take care of himself, but also that he will take care of himself. So two things had to happen, and we had quite a rough winter, even though we were surfing in Portugal like half a year. So we were having a very, very fun time, but at the same time, it was like a very transformational and rough, and we had to learn how we can be completely equal. So and that's also in my horoscope. That's also the south node and the north node, is this like being someone's pillar that he can kind of lean into, to kind of becoming equals. So I think it was the time that we finally nailed it in this lifetime. So these are kind of my understandings of what it could be. Yeah.
Very interesting.
How about, yeah, anything you want to ask about it?
Yeah, as far as the so, I mean, it's amazing that you made it through to really, in this day and age, a lot of people would just be like, throw in the towel and let's move on. So what was it that really helped you stay together, that helped you make it through? Was there any one thing that was that stands out?
Well, the one thing is that I know that we will always be together. Like, I have never had this kind of relationship, so I know that we can go through whatever and we will survive it. So maybe that's the main thing. I have thrown the towel many times already in my life. So this is something completely different, and it was never even an option that we are gonna that we would like go separate ways. Yeah. So I don't know how to answer that, but I think it's also a question that we are both very, very much self-aware, and we can understand that what we are going through personally doesn't have anything to do with the other person. So we can actually discuss on stuff on many levels. So not only like how I feel or how he feels, but also on a grander scale. And I have to say, I'm not a promoter of drugs and I don't take them anymore, but MDMA helped us a lot in that.
Okay.
Yeah, because it removes the ego. So
Yeah.
we had a few very good discussions.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it's I think in looking at all four of us in our experiences, the link is relationships. And which was the catalyst.
Yeah.
So the Dark Knight, and I feel that's very common. And the other thing with your experience is that it is about you. It's not about the other person at all. So, and I think that's the one important lesson that I had to learn, that it wasn't about the other person. It was only about me.
Yeah.
So when we take that responsibility, then it allows us to move through the journey, which I'd like to talk about, the hero's journey. And Noora, I think you have some knowledge on this. Would you like to share?
Well, I had just very, very basic knowledge. Do you have
Okay. Let's see. Yeah. Sure. Do we see it? Okay. Perfect. So does anyone else like? Do you know this concept of the hero's journey?
Yes. I do.
Yeah, because I remember that this has to do with the Dark Night of the Soul, and for example, David Wilcock has talked a lot about this. But is it very fresh in your mind? What did you want to share? How it goes?
It goes as to there is an obstacle, there is an issue that kind of gets us into a path of something that we have to do, and probably we might not want to do it. So we're kind of resisting in the beginning, and then the pattern keeps coming up and showing up. And then at some point there is someone or something that comes and kind of pushes us ahead into this path. And there are different stages where we overcome things, we receive help, and I don't know, we go through the first stage definitely. So then when that finishes, then we're going into a deeper state, like deep. And okay, having a few times all these setbacks and not really moving forward, where there can be tests and trials and acknowledgements and coming up to realizations, then really hitting on into moving ahead when we finally go over these stages, and then going into coming back after we have transformed, after having passed over all these issues and being transformed into something new. And then we come back and we bring a gift that is our gift to everyone else. And this is like the return of the hero.
Yeah.
Like we're taking our place around the fire, as the shamans would say. So we know where we are now, when we are standing now. I think that we come back into the here and now more empowered and more aware of what's going on.
Yeah, that's how I also understand it. And usually what pushes us out of the known into the unknown is something that we wouldn't like to do just if we could choose, right? Usually it's something that we really have to do it. And I don't know if you have seen Star Wars, for example. It's completely a story of the hero's journey if you think about the what's his name, Skywalker, right? Like they are always resisting the thing, like, no, why would I go and why would I do anything? I'm just a normal guy. And then they end up in crazy adventures, and they always have the mentor. When they are ready for it, the mentor shows up and they get some help. They have the robots there, and then they have the big clashes and transformative stuff happening. And then after a lot of fighting and deep diving, they return home and they are like more whole again. So this is a very classical movie structure. Also, if we see any movies, the protagonists usually go the hero's journey, and it's always something that they wouldn't first like to do, but they have to learn something and come back to themselves. It always ends up coming back to themselves. Yeah. So I'm gonna stop sharing this.
One of my favorites is the Hobbit. What's the name of the Hobbit? When all the dwarves go and they know they're going on an adventure, and he doesn't want to go. He stays at his home because he likes his home and his doilies and his garden and all these things. And then no, the next day he decides, when everyone has left, he decides to join the rest of the company for his personal transformation.
Yeah, very classical hero's journey also. Yeah. But we can see that in Amos's journey from drug addiction to being sober, we can see the same journey, right?
Oh yeah. The hero's journey, I think, is the healer's journey. I think in order to be a healer, the best healers are the wounded healers, because they have the empathy and they have the experience.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. So that's about it. Like what I wanted to bring up with the hero's journey. That it kind of ties it together. So I wonder, dear viewer or listener, like, where are you in your journey at the moment? Are you just starting it, or do you have already some mentor, or maybe you already went through the big clashes and just returned home? I don't know. How about you guys? Where are you at the moment on your journeys?
I'm in the journey of contentment right now. We're very lucky, and we don't have any real healing issues going on at the moment. So it's just about being content and trying to steer the ship as steady as possible.
I think about I think my realization and what I bring from my own experience is that as I heal myself, and I healed my father and all my ancestors and all my line, all the land back.
Yeah.
And this is what I realized, that when we set out in the world to do something for us, we end up, affecting everyone else. It's like a chain. Everything is connected, interconnectedness also.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why because we are in the moment of now, so we can stop those energies, the ancestral or family energies. We are the ones that actually can do it. So that is the beauty of the now again here.
Yeah.
How about Christina? Where are you on your hero's journey at the
I'd
moment?
say I'm probably on the road back. I have in the past couple of years really gone through a lot of the other processes, other areas where I shut down my restaurant with COVID, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, where to live, and I had a lot of learning because I sold everything and went back to my parents in New York, and at 50 years old is not something you want to do, but this time has presented me with so many things to learn from and experiences to have to catapult my knowledge and wisdom of myself, to return to myself, my authenticity, and to come back and share all that I've learned in all of my experience. So I feel like I'm still gathering and learning a little bit, but I'm on the road home.
Beautiful.
Nice. And you, Noora?
Well, I think I'm right now. I have just returned home and I'm starting the new round. Yeah, because there is like big transformations going on in my life. In multiple levels. But one is like to build the kind of life of freedom, like economically, and we can live in Spain or Finland because we are like from two different countries. So what it means that I have to create something that I have never created before. And if I want to create something, it's always about growth. So I have to dive deep again and think what I have to learn and what I have to let go. And I don't know yet, is this journey going to be like a very deep and transformational, or is it going to be just like a little round of the hero's journey? I don't know. But we'll see.
I think just to kind of add to that, it's like you get to do this now. You get to do this, and you have so many tools to use throughout. And now with that wisdom, because God never gives you more than what you can handle, right?
Yeah.
Using that.
Exactly.
Because we're always going to go through this. This isn't a one and done.
Yeah, it's many times, and sometimes the round is harder, and sometimes it's easier. But I have this feeling of the adventure. It's in the beginning of the journey, so I know that something great is going to happen. So after like last year's transformational cycle ending, new one is beginning. But I'm looking forward to it. I don't think that this necessarily going to be bad or anything. I think it's going to be a great journey. Yeah.
Enjoy the ride, eh?
Thank you. I will. I will keep you posted. Yeah. Nice. So, any last words for this session? I think we covered everything, but let's make a round. Why don't you start, Christina, first?
I would just like to say that when you're experiencing this darkness or what appears to be darkness, there is always light. And to surrender and move through it with as much as ease and flow as you can, giving yourself that grace. Because this is a process. It is not something that you just overnight click your fingers, click your heels in your home. It's a process, and take every moment as a learning and as you're gaining wisdom.
And Fotini?
I was wondering, because the first thing that came to my mind was remember that this too will pass, so the storm will go. But then I'm thinking also that it's important to ask for help when it becomes very, very difficult, and before it becomes difficult, ask for help, so you don't get it in the difficult way. Make it easy. Make it as easy as you can.
Yeah. And how about Amos?
Oh, no, I agree with Fotini. When in doubt, reach out. That's always been my motto. And personally, I tell people, lean into the darkness. All the answers are hidden in the darkness, so don't be afraid of it. And the only place to come out. If you go straight into the darkness, you're eventually going to lead to the light. That's the only other way. So it just may take some time.
Yeah. And I would like to remind that resistance brings suffering. So why don't you just go with it? And we are here to learn, and we are here to evolve. And it doesn't always happen in the nicest and funniest and most coolest Instagram way. Sometimes we have to go deep and really meet ourselves there in the cave. But once you do it, you will be so much more in balance and harmony with yourself. So with these wise words, I thank you for the viewers. Thank you for watching, and happy holidays. And most probably see you next year. Bye.
Bye.